Hi everyone, this is Scott Dudley from SaaS Startup Stories, and today my special guest is Ashutosh Priyadarshy, who's based in the San Francisco Bay Area. He's the founder at Sunsama, which is a daily planner for elite professionals that helps you plan out a focused workday by pulling together your tasks from all of your tools. Welcome to the show, Ashutosh. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it, Scott.
All right, sounds great. All right, so let's begin with your background and what initially got you interested in starting a SaaS company in the first place.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I started out with the intention of making a SaaS company. I kind of started out really interested in this question of if I'm going to spend the next 40 years of my life behind a computer, how can I do it in a way where I get to work sort of thoughtfully and intentionally? And it just felt like Microsoft Outlook or Google Calendar was not going to be the tool that I wanted to use for the rest of my working career. So that's kind of how I ended up, building a digital product and a SaaS product.
Okay, awesome. So to get started, did you borrow VC money to launch your software company, or did you bootstrap it instead? Tell us a bit about how you got Sunsama off the ground.
Yeah, so initially we actually got into a little accelerator and raised some angel money, and we ended up stretching out that angel money for almost 4 or 5 years while we went through a number of different product iterations. And then about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, we got into Y Combinator. We did that. And then at the end of Y Combinator, we actually raised a more significant seed round of capital.
Okay, cool. All right, then. So tell me a bit about the Sunsama product and what it provides its users and the pricing tiers, if there are any.
Sure. Yeah. Sunsama is a daily planner for busy professionals. Basically, it guides you through planning out your day each morning or evening as per your preference, and helps you create a calm and focused plan for what you're going to do each day. Basically, we allow you to pull together your tasks, your calendars, your emails, and stuff from any and all of your different project management tools in a single interface. We basically just have one pricing tier, which is $20 per user per month. Okay. And if you pay annually, there's a discount.
Okay, cool. And I see you've got some pretty cool integrations as well with like Trello and Asana and stuff like that.
That's right. Yeah, one of the things we kind of recognized was there's sort of this proliferation of SaaS tools with each department or each sort of vertical inside of a company using different SaaS tools. And what was happening is that people ended up using not just one SaaS tool to manage their work, but multiple. And so Sunsama sort of solves this problem where you've got work scattered across a number of tools. How do you figure out, what 2 Jira tickets am I going to do? Which one meeting am I going to go to? Which 3 lengthy Slack messages am I going to respond to? So Sunsama kind of lets you stitch all of that together into a cohesive plan for what you want to do today.
Okay, nice. I love it. That's a great idea because, even myself, I use quite a few tools, and have it all in the one place would be a huge advantage. So that's excellent idea. So how many employees do you have at the moment?
Right now, we're a team of 5 people distributed around the globe. So we're totally remote and asynchronous.
All right. So do you code yourself, or have you got like an engineer?
I do. Actually, everybody on our team is a full stack engineer. So we are a team of engineers completely. Though these days I spend a lot less time writing code than I did in the past.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. So how do you stay motivated to work on Sunsama for 6 years with 6 different iterations? That would sort of be a bit stressful at times, I could imagine.
Yeah, definitely stressful, running out of money, feeling like you're building something that people don't want along the way is, you can feel defeated. But I think for us, it was just sort of being intrinsically motivated and answering kind of the higher level question, which I alluded to earlier, which is like, how can you kind of work thoughtfully and intentionally, and what are the tools that would allow you to do that? So having that kind of as the foundation makes it easier and helps you not see kind of each individual product iteration as a failure, but as sort of a experiment that helps you learn something new to answer that kind of bigger question, right? And then I'm sure there's just a part part deep down where it's like you don't want to fail or give up, so you just keep finding ways to keep going. So
Yeah, I guess it all boils down to mission and purpose, doesn't it? That's what it's all about.
yeah, I think that's probably what can kind of steel you against both the ups and downs of building a startup.
Yeah, fair enough. Makes sense. All right. So what's your product roadmap for the next 12 to 18 months?
One of the big things we're focused on right now is getting the product to be faster and more responsive. When we initially built the product, this iteration of the product a couple of years ago, we did it extremely fast. We actually built everything out in 2-day iterations. And in order to do that, we had to take a lot of shortcuts, which compromised, reliability, performance, a lot of other things. But we were sort of hell bent on the question of, are we actually building something people want to use? And now we've sort of validated that with the customers that we have. And so now that it's kind of become a daily habit for our customers, we're working hard to make sure the app is fast and responsive and reliable. And kind of the second part of what we'll be working on is just adding more integrations and deepening our integrations with other tools.
Okay, is there like a Zapier integration as well with that?
We don't have a Zapier integration yet. It's probably something we'll add soon. But one of the kind of unique things about Sunsama is how sort of deep and bespoke our integrations are. They're not just like click a button and something happens elsewhere. Inside of Sunsama, you can do something as sort of, or we have a lot of sort of rich experiences, like you can browse your email exactly the way you would do it in Gmail or your Asana or your Jira. And show you the data, and it should look a lot, even just like the visuals should look a lot like they look in the other app. So we kind of want to melt the difference between Sunsama and those other apps by building really nice integrations with their APIs. And so it's not just like a webhook here or there. It's actually really, really deep. And a lot of times we end up sort of rebuilding a lot of the core functionality of those products into our product.
Okay, interesting. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. How are you currently marketing Sunsama to attract new users?
Sure. Well, after we launched on Product Hunt and then out of Y Combinator, we just got kind of a swell of kind of organic growth that fueled a lot of our early days. Okay. And we had some good word of mouth. So if we could sign up a customer, they would tell their friends. And now we're also sort of augmenting that with Facebook ads. That's worked really effectively for us, but even still, I'd say about a little over 50% of our growth comes from word of mouth, or people inviting teammates onto their account, thus giving us sort of expansion revenue.
Okay, so there's like a free trial, is there? Is that the initial offer?
Yeah, so we do a 14-day free trial, and if you choose to upgrade at the end of the trial, you would sort of add your card and upgrade.
Okay, cool. All right, so you've sort of already answered this in some respects, but what are your most successful customer acquisition channels and how did you find them?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook ads just worked really well for us. We had tried a couple other things like Google AdWords, but that was not as successful for us, just because the product that we have is not something that people necessarily go in search for explicitly. But once they see it, they're like, oh yeah, I could use something like that. But it's not sort of a common query that you're asking for.
Yeah, good point. That makes sense. All right, so what are the most common mistakes that inexperienced software founders make, in your opinion?
I think the first one that I regret the most from the early days of Sunsama is ever asking someone to try my product. And I use the word try very specifically because I think it sets the wrong expectation for the user or the customer, as though this is something that can just kind of be like, they can just poke around with. And I think it also, for me, in retrospect, it kind of shows like a lack of conviction on my part that the product had something that was really solving a problem. If I had felt that those earlier iterations were actually valuable, I wouldn't be telling people to try the product. I would tell them, hey, I have a product that solves your problem. You should pay for it, for example. And then I think the second biggest mistake is probably not charging an uncomfortable amount for the product. And obviously part of that is you should just charge, period. But I think pricing is probably the most effective forcing function you have to start to figure out if you're building something valuable and what to build in the future that will sort of augment the existing value of your product. And what's really interesting is once you start charging an uncomfortable amount, you start to see things with kind of a cleared eye perspective that you never could before, whether it's like the bugs that customers are reporting, the features they're requesting, whatever that is, it all starts to click a lot better. And at least in my experience, it's not something I found that I was able to sort of just go through the intellectual exercise of figuring out what's valuable without having that kind of forcing function of pricing between the customer and the product.
Okay. So with the pricing, do you think eventually you'll add extra tiers, like a premium package, or you're pretty happy with just the one level?
Right now, I think we're pretty happy with the one level.
Okay.
For us as a small team, it's kind of one less variable to figure out. You know, as we try to find product market fit, I think for us it's you know, we can only run so many experiments at a time.
Yeah.
But perhaps later on, that would be sort of a more relevant question.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. All right. So let's talk a little bit about churn. So how do you approach reducing churn and retaining paying customers?
Sure. I think the most important thing that we've done or sort of made core to our strategy is just to keep asking ourselves, what do we need this product to be to make it sort of an indispensable daily habit? And I mean, it's kind of an obvious question, right? But instead of worrying about, you know, hacks or, you know, re-engagement campaigns or all sorts of kind of stuff on the periphery, it's like, can you actually build something that's so useful that people won't want to churn? So that's kind of first and foremost. One other thing we implemented was as soon as customers upgrade, we offer to get on like a one-on-one call with them where we sort of walk them through the process of basically going from user to power user. And that kind of has two things. One, it's great for the customer because they feel sort of like they're now experts in the product, which makes it easier for them to stick around and reduce churn. And then on the other hand, it's a great opportunity for us to see like, okay, after 14 or 21 days of using the product, where is this person sort of in their adoption of the product, and where are the gaps that we can continue to work towards? And then the last sort of big things we've done are focus really aggressively on user onboarding. I think with any SaaS product, basically, you sort of see that, you know, your retention curves, they asymptote at some point, which is great, but you can't ever keep them from decaying. The one thing you can do is sort of push your curve up. And for us, the inflection point is like the day 1 and day 2 drop off. So we focused really aggressively almost for 3 months on just kind of observing how customers were using the product, where they were getting stuck in those first couple of days, and just making a ton of small improvements. And that actually lifted the whole curve up by you know 20%. So that was really a valuable kind of strategy for reducing churn. There's a couple other things we did that I'm happy to talk about, but I don't want to go on for too long.
Oh, you could just give us one more if that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. The other thing we've been using to sort of guide us is trying to qualify our customers from the get-go. So if you go to our homepage, there's actually a survey at the front of the sort of sign-up experience that sort of, you know, make sure that we're attracting sort of the right type of customers. I think it's particularly important with productivity tools, just because everybody and anybody is sort of willing to like give it a shot. But ultimately, we want to sort of attract the people who have a significant need and are sort of willing to pay to use a product like this. And so, you know, that means setting the expectations for someone like a high school student that, you know, this may not be right for them because of the price point.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, doing surveys is a great idea to understand exactly what's going on in the market. So yeah, good work. All right. So what was the biggest challenge that you had to face when you first started your SaaS company, and how did you go about overcoming it?
I think the biggest thing was getting people to pay. And I think I alluded to this before. The way we solved it was basically making it impossible for people to use the product without talking to us or paying for the product. So in the very early days when we were still in Y Combinator, we actually onboarded every single customer manually over a call and required them to pay upfront before the call.
Okay.
And I don't think that that was the ideal strategy in the long term, but at that time, that was the best way for us to sort of uncover what made our customers tick, what problems they wanted to solve, and sort of where we needed to take the product to get it to a point where people could sort of self-service and pay for it.
Okay. So what are your favorite online tools and platforms that you use to run your business?
I really like using Canny, which is a customer feature request sort of road mapping tool. It basically lets our customers self-service their feature requests and sort of have conversations amongst themselves about features that they'd like to see, integrations that they want. On our end, it's been great because we can just kind of let those conversations happen organically. And also it frees us up as a very small team to not have to handle hundreds of feature request support tickets in person, which, you know, while we love talking to our customers, we have to, you know, make a trade-off between talking about things we want to do in the future and actually spending the time to build them.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess obviously you'd also be using Sunsama as well, like to run your business. So that'd be a given.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Product of the product. Yeah, cool. All right. So what are you curious about or researching right now regarding the software industry and SaaS?
One of the things I've been really interested in over the past, I'd say, year and a half is the metrics that people use to sort of identify and or predict product market fit. I'm sure you're probably familiar with the Sean Ellis survey of how disappointed would you be if you could no longer use this product, popularized by Superhuman. So we've kind of instrumented that into our product analytics. And then Andrew Chen has a lengthy post about sort of the magic metrics he looks for. And I saw yesterday on Twitter as well another post about sort of using DAU over MAU and DAU over weekly active users as another metric. And, you know, I don't think there's a magical single number per se that tells you that you've reached product market fit, but I find it really interesting to sort of understand the different ways in which people are evaluating it. And I think it helps you understand what areas of your product are sort of deficient, or there's kind of a high leverage opportunity. At a certain point, every metric is going to kind of tap out, and like the improvements you make will only, you know, increase conversion rates or retention by a little bit. But I think all of those different metrics are just kind of different lenses for looking at how do you create something valuable. And so I've just been kind of curious about all of the different ways people are doing those analyses.
Yeah, well, there's so many different metrics as well. I mean, it'd be hard to keep up with all of them, I guess, as well.
Yeah, for sure. I find, you know, in a given week, I can really only think about like optimizing one metric at a time. So.
Absolutely. All right, so just to wrap up, where can people go to find out more about Sunsama?
Yeah, the easiest way would be to just go to our website, sunsama.com. That's spelled like SUN, like sun in the sky, SAMA. So SUNSAMA.com. Perfect.
All right. Thanks very much for your time, Ashutosh. Really appreciate that. And yeah, thanks for sharing those insights.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Okay, cool. See ya.